Who would have thought that an obscure token like the BNB Attestation service suddenly outperforms everything else? Let's have a look at what's actually driving this rally. Who is buying here? Who is selling here? What are the news? How much longer could this rally last? Let's have a look at the data most people are not considering. This week, we've seen a price rally consisting of 3 waves. It started on the 13th of October. We are now up more than 500%. The market cap is still at 360 million. It's still comparatively small. Is there the possibility of BAS potentially reaching even $1? The project is extremely technical. It's a DeFi project enabling data entries. There's more than 3 million entries that have been made through the service. The data entries are done in tables that are migrated on the blockchain. There's 273 such tables. It's surprising that such a technical project suddenly can gain that much momentum. Because really, have a look at the usage of the platform. The last attestation, the last entry across all databases was 6 hours ago. There's also not too much changes in the development. This is the GitHub repository of BNB Attestation service, and we don't really see that many code changes over time. So the team seems to not be updating the project regularly anymore. Yet the market cap chart looks pretty much like a hockey stick. And the question is, why? What's driving all of this? Now let's see what AI has to say. This is the coin market cap AI. It references some momentum around the AI sector. It talks about an airdrop for meme coin traders, and apparently technical analysis, the relative strength index, also justifies the rally. I think all of those reasons are completely false. Let's have a look at the on-chain metrics. Let's see if the number of retail investors is suddenly shooting up. Maybe there was a lot of marketing. Or let's see whether or not the number of whale investors is going up. Maybe there are some deep pockets that are currently buying into the token. What's driving the rally? Now on-chain, we've got almost 100,000 holders. That's on the Binance Smart Chain. Now, not all of those holders are created equal. Some of them might just hold a few cents worth of the token. This might be manipulation. This might be arbitrage trading bots holding a few cents worth of the token. So let's dive a bit deeper. Here we've got the overview. On the left side, we see the number of wallets that have at least 10,000 BAS tokens. So at the current price, it's a bit over $1,000 worth of the token. In the middle, it's 100,000 tokens. On the right, it's 1 million tokens. So that's $1,000, $10,000, $100,000. First of all, we see that recently there is no increase in any of those wallet cohorts. There aren't new retail investors. There's also no new whale investor. Secondly, we see some on-chain manipulation. As in, there used to be 13,000 wallets that held 10,000 BAS tokens, and that suddenly, from one day to the next, crashed down to 1,000 wallets. We see the opposite movement happening for the larger wallets with $10,000 and with $100,000. And again, those developments don't look natural at all. When we zoom into the development just in the last month, again, the number of retail investors tended to rather trend down. The number of whale investors also did not go up. What I think is going on here is manipulation through the derivatives contracts, through the perpetual futures. Because there's not just a spot market anymore. There's also levered bets on the price. And that has quite a bit of an impact, especially on small, rather illiquid tokens like BAS. In the last 24 hours, we saw only 47 million worth of trading volume on the spot market, and that was on PancakeSwap. Now compare this with the perpetual futures market. Here we had 557 million worth of trading volume, and that was on the Binance futures. So really, the futures are currently determining the price. And then arbitrage bots might make balancing trades with the spot market. When the price shot up, the funding rate of BAS turned negative because a lot of people that were betting on falling prices got liquidated. Usually, most perpetual futures traders are betting on rising prices of BAS, but once we rallied, at least for the second time over here, not with the first rally, but especially with the second one, we saw many short liquidations. And so the few shorts that were remaining, they had to pay a high funding rate to continue to bet on falling prices to the longs. That has now balanced out again. The funding rate is positive, but this was clearly a short squeeze. Just have a look at how many shorts got liquidated along the way. The trading volume has shot up massively. Nobody was interested in BAS before. The trading volume went from 20, 30 million a day to suddenly 2 billion on a single day. And so when the shorts get liquidated, of course, the open interest also falls. There is a strong correlation between price and open interest, as in when now the amount of bets on the price go down, and the spot price will follow as well. But I don't think it's the best time now to bet on a falling BAS price. The straightforward play would be to simply bet on falling prices now that we have concluded that this is market manipulation. But it's not that easy. Yes, I am a fan of betting on falling prices when the market is manipulated, but have a look at this example, CFX. CFX also saw a massive short squeeze, a rally of 130% in July of this year. Many people probably bet on falling prices after they have seen this resistance. Then the market makers bought up the token, they liquidated everyone, and then probably more people started to short again. The price went down and the market makers squeezed one more time until we actually saw the real decline. And so just because the price gets manipulated and we see a short squeeze does not mean that we can't see a secondary short squeeze or even a third short squeeze. There is a way to navigate this, but I like to simply wait until the dust settles. We can simply wait for a week or two and see if the price stabilizes and we don't see another movement to the upside, and then enter the short, then bet on falling prices. Because we want to bet on falling prices of assets that don't have that much attention. If there is a lot of attention now on BAS and many people bet on falling prices, then it might be lucrative for the market makers to push up the spot market again and liquidate everyone in the process. It's better to wait until everybody has forgotten the asset. So simply just put those kinds of assets like BAS on a watch list and see what happens until the end of the month. And if then the price is still high, but we haven't seen another short squeeze, then it probably makes sense to bet on falling prices and wait for the manipulation and the liquidity to exit the asset. So is it possible that BAS could reach 50 cents, that the market cap could reach maybe even 1 billion? I do think that's possible if there are enough people that already bet on falling prices now. If enough people identify this as manipulation and then believe that the straightforward play is to bet on falling prices, then the market makers will come after those shorts. Don't fall for the trap, just wait what happens and manage your risk accordingly. Now, I try to be as objective and as realistic as possible on this channel. I try to not just sell the greed, talk about 100 or 1000x cryptocurrencies, where then in the end, most people end up losing their money. This is what I don't like about the crypto space, especially on YouTube. Here is a possible 100x crypto, or over here, Plasma going to the moon with 100x, or here, even a ranking from 10x all the way to 1000x. The problem is that most people get burnt with content like this. They're hoping for the 100x, they put in all of their savings, and then that money is gone. Here's the sad reality. The vast majority of altcoins is just going down all the time. This is an overview of smaller altcoins and their performance in the last year. The reason for the underperformance is because insiders and early investors and the team, they get token allocations over time, and that increases the supply. The price is a result of supply and demand. And when the supply is just going up all the time and the demand cannot catch up, which is true in the vast majority of cases because of ever increasing competition and because our supply unlocks are also so extremely aggressive. Because of that effect, that's then the reality. That's why most altcoins do worse compared to Bitcoin. So this is an example of DYDX. That's this chart over here, right? The supply development. This is DYDX relative to the Bitcoin price. This is not pretty, right? This is an underperformance of 99%. And while it might not always end up with minus 99%, many altcoins still end up losing. Owning a diversified portfolio of assets where the insiders cash out all the time is a bad idea. But it's a good idea to do the exact opposite. So instead of buying DYDX in this example, we can do this here. This is now the Bitcoin performance relative to DYDX. So we bet on rising prices of Bitcoin and at falling prices of DYDX at the same time. So in this example, since the beginning of the year, that made 210%. The performance over the last 2 years is plus 1,300%. So this is where we can find the 10x returns, or at least the outperformance over just buying and holding Bitcoin. We want to work with the market structure. The market structure is against the retail investor more often than not. Again, most altcoins tend to do worse than Bitcoin and Ethereum most of the time. And we don't even have to be afraid of so-called altcoin season, right? When the others' dominance went up by 67%, at the same time, this relative valuation still didn't go up. So the others' dominance is just a measure of market caps. It's not a measure of price developments. And when market caps stay stagnant because the price gets cut in half while the supply doubles, this is not reflected in the typical altcoin performance charts. I've been following this strategy for the last 4 years. So this is a monthly return chart. Had I just dollar cost averaged into Bitcoin, I would have gotten the line in gray. But because I also bet on falling altcoin prices, I got the return in black. And this is really how we make money in crypto. It's not about finding the next altcoin. It's not about hitting a home run. It's about long-term compounding capital faster than the average. It's about being on the same side as the small circle of insiders. Basically flipping this chart around. Everything that's red here becomes green. Everything that's green becomes red. So the vast majority of our trades end up winning. The strategy might not be as straightforward as just buying an altcoin, but it's also not too complicated. There's only 2 videos that are really important. It's this one over here, using perpetual futures to bet on relative valuations. And it's this one over here, probably even more important, risk management with relative valuation bets. The first video is 34 minutes. The second video is 28 minutes. Once you've watched those 2 videos, you know exactly what to do in order to get this kind of performance. And I'm so certain in the strategy that I will send you my favorite trade directly after joining the premium membership here. So you will get my favorite trade. And if that favorite trade is not making money in a span of 1 month, so you're holding that trade for 1 month. If you're not in the green with that trade after 1 month, then I will refund you the membership fee. So really, you are not risking anything. After joining, once you've watched the 2 videos and you've opened the trade that I will share with you, and you are not making money, you just get the $125 back. If you do make money, of course, that's great. Then you can just continue copy trading me. I share every single trade in real time in premium as well. A link to premium pops up directly here on the screen. Just click on that. It will lead you to the website. If it's your very first time here, feel free to subscribe. I publish this regularly. A like would be very much appreciated as well. It helps the channel grow. See you next time on YouTube, or see you in premium. Cheers.